Um, Hello, hello. Does anyone hear? Hello, hello, everyone. Okay. Um, yes, I think we can start from now. Okay. Yes. Hello. Maybe I can wait. Okay. Hello. A few more minutes. A few more seconds. Okay. Hello. Okay. I think it's good to start. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. Hello. Yes, more audiences are coming. Um, Hello. Today, the Mercari PdMs, have a open meetup session. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, everyone. So we will talk about our PDM experiences in Mercaris, and also want you to share our stories and maybe something the very interesting experience and challenges in Mercari. Um, okay, so we will have this time table today. So I will give you a brief introduction about the company and the role of the product manager role at Mercari, and also yes, introduce the FAQs for the product manager roles in Mercari too. And after that is going to be a main session. Our panels will share about the stories of the product, and we will exchange our Q&As and opinions on these challenges. After that, we will accept a general Q&A. You can ask anything about the company or product manager roles or products itself. Yes, you can anything. Yes, rewind our topics there. Okay, you can anything about that. Okay, so there is a comment feature in YouTube Live, so you can post your questions there. And today's session, yes, as I am saying, will be facilitated in English. And please, no recording. And please share about these events or your question or maybe your thoughts on your social medias. That'd be great. Okay, as an icebreaker, maybe yes, we already accepted your, yes, hellos through the chat. So it'd be great. Okay, let's just skip this. Okay, please let me introduce myself. Um, I'm Hyungjin Kim. I'm a product manager, comma technical in Mercari, and also a manager of technical product team. I'm from South Korea. It's about over 20 years ago. Now I'm living in Japan now. I'm ex software engineer and also as a business director. And yes, it's a very TMI, too much information things. But my favorite movie is Moneyball. As you know, as you said, as you see, I am a very fascinated about all of the technology and data and user experiences, and want to innovate many things through these Mercari products. And we will have 3 more panels today. So panels, please join to the broadcast. Yes, yes. Hello. Okay, thank you for your sharing. Yeah, sharing your favorite food. Actually, mine is pizza. Yeah, yeah, American style pizza. I like. Okay, we have three panels today. So, starting from Suen, could you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Hyunjin. Hello, my name is Suan. I'm also the technical product manager in Mercari. I work in foundation products area. So later I will explain more details. And originally I'm from Nanjing. It's a beautiful city in China. 12 years ago, I came to Japan, and after that, I started my career here. I have a 6 years old daughter, and she just started elementary school this year. In my private time, I like traveling with family, and I also enjoy music, books, and online shopping. Thanks. Let me pass to next my
Yes,
colleague.
thank you, Suen. Yes, Leonard.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Leonard, and I'm surprised I'm also product manager. I'm from Germany actually, but I moved to Japan 5 or 6 years ago. And I started my career in analytics. I have an analytics background. Actually, at Tableau, I was doing analytics consulting, and then I changed into the ad tech industry, so more like marketing. Um, and then I wanted to do more in the industry side. So actually, yeah, at AdTech, I became a product manager as well, and I wanted to go into the industry side, e-commerce, and so I joined Mercari about half a year ago. Yeah, and since then I'm working a lot with marketing, so the marketing teams, and also like data scientists, machine learning, so kind of bridging between these two teams. In private, I love doing kickboxing and I listen to a lot of music. So if even if it's not professional, if you want to just chat about martial arts or music, please connect with me as well. So I'm happy to chat about that as well. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Thank you, Leonard. Yeah, sounds like I definitely should not fight with you. So, okay. So next is Joy. Say hello, Joy.
Hi everyone, my name's Joey. By the way, Hyungjin, I think you shouldn't fight with anybody. That's not a good thing. Anyway, product manager at Mercari. I'm working on the supply side of our marketplace, particularly working on listing. I'm originally from Singapore. I'm, I guess, kind of the newbie of the group. I joined Mercari less than a year ago. I've been in Japan for about 2 years, much less than everyone else here. But before that, I was at PwC AI Lab, initially in the UK, and then I moved over to Japan, building kind of machine learning, data-driven products, both internally at PwC and then for clients when I was a consultant. And before that, kind of similar to Leonard, actually, I started as a consultant, doing data science consultant at GN, which is kind of a sub company of PwC's. I realized I didn't put in a fun fact, but following Hyunjin's, my favorite movie is Lord of the Rings, which has nothing to do with data, but hopefully I still have something interesting to share today.
Okay, thank you, Joy. Yes, it's great. I'm a facilitator today. So before going to the jump into the panel discussion, let me briefly introduce Mercari and the product manager role at Mercari too. I think yes, Mercari is their number one marketplace, especially for C2C, consumer to consumer marketplace in Japan. So I think yes, almost 10 years, but exactly 9 years old now. And yeah, when you yes, talking about Mercari. Um, Okay, yes. Okay, you can yes go. Okay, so see you later, panels. Okay, yeah, it's my time. Yeah. And when you say Mercari, the Mercari is actually service or products, and sometimes a company or the company group. So we have many other companies in under the Mercari group. So US and Sozo, Meteorology and Meripay and coin, and also there's a soccer team in Japan, Pro League. So okay, I can do it. So these companies are running many businesses. So Mercari is the marketplace, and all the panels, including me, is coming from this Mercari product today. And there's a Meripay, and also we have a Mercari US, and also we have a Mercari shops too. So I want to introduce about the product manager role at Mercari, but I also want to skip all the common and the general topic about the project manager role. So this common and general product manager role is not that different even in this Mercari, but I also want to, but I highlight what is a bit characteristic in Mercari PM role. First, things about responsibility. So, they're all like any other product managers in other company. PMs have autonomy about their product. But along with our product growth, the PM's role or expectation have been changed a lot. For example, yes, we have a bit, I think, a fewer PM roles at this moment than comparing to the 3 years, or yes. So our all PMs is work per product theme rather than domains. For example, I'm from the matching team. Usually the search and recommendation is under this matching team. So I'm in charge of this matching experience and data and all the businesses in Mercari here. And approach is also changed. We used to try to introduce many new features, but we are working like a more incremental way at this moment. And all the planning style is also evolved. I think we have a better long-term, mid or long-term plan. So we are still planning also bi-quarterly and also per project or per sprint. But we are basically working on the basically long-term visions under the long-term visions. So next is about the skill set. So yes, that is so common, so common graph here. So, but something special for at Mercari is about we are getting more technical because especially these technical innovations and all the tech involvement is also have been occurred last 10 years. So we are getting more technical now. And also we are data driven because we are the #1 leading company in Japan. So we have a lot of the useful data here. So the product improvement is also based on this data. And also we are now more inclusive. Of course, including all the panels today. We have a lot of global employees here. And also we have multiple stakeholders like multiple companies, multiple group company, or we have bunch more teams in the company right now. And organization, I think it is actually why I want to give you more, but we have a very limited time. So we work as some kind we called camp. The camp is not definitely not on the org chart. But is like a virtual team to focus or be flexible for our product teams. So I think there's many good introduction on our site. So please search the Mercari camp structure. We'll give you a better introduction on all of these issues, all of these the things about the camp here. Okay, so actually I picked up some frequently asked questions, but you can comment if you have anything you want to ask today to give us some comments. So I will pick up at the end of these pages. So okay, Let me start. The first question is about the Japan market and customers. I think it depends on product theme. So, for example, the search, a data-driven product, require less understanding than the UX-driven improvements product teams. But we absolutely, the PMs have to understand our customers. So why, for example, for search, why our customers search with these keywords? All of the things is coming from this customer understanding. So both are important, but not mandatory, I think. And the next question is about how about the standings of Mercari in terms of maturity things. So I think we achieved them very good product market fit especially in Japan. So we can say now it's in a continuing to growth phase now. So yes, so but we also want to be competitive in the Japanese market too. So try things. All the PM's role is required for this growth and being competitive things at this moment. And so also the next question about this what I'm getting one of the things or most during those interviews or some company introduction is about decision making process. So I can say we are very consensus basis decision making style and also data driven rather than top down. So PM's role is very important to influence all these decision making, and also autonomy is also important in terms of this kind of view. So yes, that was the FAQ about the PM roles at Mercari. So do you have any questions from you, audiences? If not, I think we can. There is another session, Q&A session at the end of this panel discussion today. So let us speak up. Okay, so next. Okay, yes, actually, I got one question, so I will pick up this. What are the most unique aspects of Japanese market in product sense? Yes, very interesting question. I think, I cannot give you maybe enough answer for this because I have been lived in Japan a very long time. But one thing is about Japanese customer is very conservative comparing to other global customer, I think. So trust or safety in our product value is very important. And yes, and also is this conservativeness, I think we can usually confirm through our data, like when we introduce one new feature, discovery of those feature and adoption of those feature is quite slow, I think, comparing to other global customers. Yes, these are I think what I am seeing. Things the Japanese customers are very unique. The next question is about how many PdMs and Mercari. Actually, I didn't count it. So is there anybody, some panels? Do you know this answer to this? But maybe I think 30 PMs. I'm not sure. So I can give you a better answer at the end of our event today. So please let me pick up your question again at the Q&A session. Okay, I think that's the question. So yes, let's go to the next the panel discussion session. Please, panels, please come to we will go through these topics. The first is about foundation products. We call it in that way. And the second will be a growth funnel. I think it is also very interesting how the Mercari have been growth and also about this how we see those other users. And the third is experiment. Actually, personally, to me, is very interesting to me because I am one of the PM from the data-driven product. So I believe this is all about the online experiment or A/B testing or data-driven product improvement things. Okay, so the first topic is, yes, thank you, Joy. Hello, about foundation products. I will give you my mic to you. Okay, so
Okay.
please introduce your stories or experience about your products.
Okay, thank you. And let me give an overview of foundation products in Mercari. And next slide, please. Yeah, foundation products provides all the easy, basic but critical functionalities to support Mercari marketplace. We have the products such as transaction, logistics, payment. So those like groups basically enable that customer can sell, can buy, can ship the item in Mercari. As a vision for foundation products, we are aiming to provide to serve a frictionless experience for both buyer and seller. And at the same time, from the products platform perspective, we want to build a flexible and extensible foundations to serve the business foundations. Next slide, please. Let me take one example of our transaction products to give you more detailed explanation. So customers come to Mercari to sell or buy. So we have the products like search, recommendations. Those engines support customers to match their interest. And after that, one of the foundation products transaction will enable this actual exchange of the value. Next slide, please. In more detail, transaction controls the steps throughout the transaction life cycle, including checkout, pay, and shipping, review, and in such kind of like happy scenarios. If there's a trouble during the transaction, customer might want to cancel the order. So we also provide such kind of supporting features to cancel. Yeah, there was one interesting question. One of the special thing that for Japan marketplace, I think like seller and buyer, especially in C2C, they usually like to communicate with each other. So we have a feature called transaction message in Mercari that seller and buyer can say like thank you for buying this item, and I have delivered item, such contents during this experience. So taking one example, if the buyer chose convenience store to check out, and after that, transaction products will put the order status in wait for payment status. So this can make sure that seller will not ship the item before buyer finish the payment. Yeah. So after the payment is done, then transaction will notify the seller. Okay, now please send the item. And also in the end of the transaction, we provide the review features so that seller and buyer can give a good rating of this experience. And finally, we will transfer the profit to seller. Next slide, please. Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about the challenges in foundation product management. So for the product like transaction, logistic, so those products usually are already a mature products, which means has already been running on the production for several years. That means, most of the critical or basic feature already there, but we still have many things that we can improve. For example, like we can resolve the customer's pains, and we also still have many like new opportunities that we can like add to provide better customer experience. So under this condition, like how to balance these two new things and also like maintain the existing critical feature. Those are the I think the most challenging stuff in foundation area. Therefore, like I think product manager play a very critical role here. So for example, like product manager, we have to define the product visions for those already like matured products, and to make sure that the direction that we align the latest company's roadmap, the latest direction. And also we have to understand the technical challenge or technical depths in current system, so that we can better balance the new requirements and the engineering type of tasks. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is one of the project example that I'm working for transaction products. So now we are working on make our system more flexible by decoupling the functions or features into smaller or modular blocks. So by doing this, we can like have more we can easier to add new features to these smaller boxes without worrying the side effects to the neighbor side functionalities. So this is like one of the example. So in this project, product manager has to define, for example, what's kind of the feature that we can actually group as a component, and how the priority of those features, and what's anything like we can actually add new, or what anything we can remove. So this is like one of example that's the project I'm working on. That's all for my talk for now. If you have any question, yeah, we can talk. Hyunjin, yeah, mute, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for your presentation. And please pause your question to this topic so that I can pick up. And yes. Yes, while we're waiting for the questions, I think I want to ask a bit. So maybe what kind of okay. So you are the foundation part of our product structure. So how do you usually work together with other teams? I think the search is for me search is not that connected at this moment. So yeah, that's my question.
Yeah. I think we are working with other PMs in two different approaches. One is for Epic. If we have like a big project, we call it Epic in Mercari. So in that case, the requirements might like require several systems modification. Just take an example, like if we want to add a new payment option, like we want to add like a credit card, this payment option to our Mercari marketplace. In that case, so transaction, payments, this kind of like teams will work together. So usually the PdMs are will discuss the requirements first. What is the best way to support this new feature? What are the priorities? So this is one way I work with other PMs. Another is for example, like a transaction is closely related with the shipping. So I very often, or almost like every day, I talk with logistic PMs. So we talk together how we can build a more robust or flexible foundations for both this transaction and shipping area. Because we kind of like solving the similar issue, like we want to like has more general design. That's when there's new requirements coming, we can have a faster speed to market. So how to improve our product to the ideal design. So for such kind of like topic, I work or discuss a lot with my colleagues.
Thank you. That is, I think, a great, the explanation of how we're working together. Thank you. Yes, I think we have several questions here. So, okay, the first question is, does RFFS, robust foundation for speed, involves creation of new functionality?
Yeah, so the goal of this project actually is to improve the transaction customer experience. So so as a goal, we want to be able to adding new functions or new features that we can have like a better service. But in the initial step, in order to like we basically break down into multiple steps in the roadmap. The first step, we're going to do some decoupling work. And there are some new kind of like components are created, but it's more like as a preparation step in order to add new customer-facing feature. So after we finish the foundation, like refactoring or this kind of preparation work, in later phase we will start to adding, for example, like a single components require new requirements, and then later on we are also going to tackle more complex problem. Basically, in current this project, it contains several phases.
Thank you. Is it enough for your questions? I think yes. I will also give you a next question. By the way, RFS, Robots Foundation for Speed. There is a very good introduction on our site, so you can search Mercari RFS or Robots Foundation for Speed. You can find these articles. So the next question is about, do you have any preferred tech stacks? I'm not sure you're familiar with this, so, but
yeah.
yeah.
I think as Hyunjin mentioned, if you search, actually our engineering team had a lot of like events or explanation about this big project. Actually, we also hiring a lot of like senior engineers for this project. You can get more detail, but it really depends on service. Like my area, the PHP code language is using, and most of the engineers are very senior, has like various architecture experience.
Yeah, we adopted a microservice architecture. So each service or each team or camp have a different stack, and they optimize our service. They choose these stacks based on our deliveries. So for search, there is some kind of different stacks like a Go and Java and the other. Some things are partially definitely Python. These stacks are not that commonly defined in Mercari, I believe. The next question is about, what are the metrics you consider when grouping the features for optimization?
Okay, yeah, I think in this case, like so how to grouping the feature, we are basically is considering like the responsibilities. I think maybe like most of the audience knows, like it's a bit we are not creating all the these components as service, but the idea is quite similar as a microservice concept. We try to make the components has a very clear responsibility, and has a very have a clear boundary from other services. This is basically the general like our like idea about how we want to like consolidate these components. Just take an example, simple, like for checkout related area, it will be go to the similar one components. So if we want to add new payment option, if we want to make adding like new feature, promotion type of feature for checkout, we just need to modify that checkout components. And so this is like the high level idea how to optimize the design.
And also about the metrics, I think it's very challenging questions. All the foundation things is it's very hard to define to these metrics is for grouping or something. So I can say it's a bit
just
please.
to add on, so this project, of course, like this example is quite engineering maybe driven type of project. So the thing I mentioned quite engineering side KPI, but in product side we also have some KPI on the transaction area, just as like Hyunjin mentioned. For example, like we control basically all the experience after the checkout. So we control the, for example, like the time to complete the transaction, and the cancellation rate, and the inquiry, like number of inquiry per transaction. We have like various product KPI as well. Yeah, so this is for general like a transaction product.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think we have enough questions. So let's go to the next topic. So, okay, so topic number 2 is about our growth funnel. Leonard, hello, Leonard.
Hello. Yeah. Let me talk about our growth funnel. So Suen, I think, gave you a very good overview of, or like a good idea of what Mercari's marketplace looks like. So we have this buyers and sellers, a C2C type of market where people buy and sell things to each other. So I think it's going to be interesting to go into the growth funnel and think about, okay, what does that mean in terms of user growth and revenue growth? How do we look at that? Because growth funnels can be very different from industry to industry and also even between companies in the same industry. So I hope that this will give some insight and will be interesting to you guys. On the next slide, I'm just going to go really quickly over the general growth funnel in case some people are not that familiar with it. So the growth funnel basically shows or represents the different stages the customer goes through while experiencing your product. So in the very top, you have customers just knowing about your product, the awareness stage. And then throughout the funnel, they become an active customer and they become more and more active, the retaining customer. In the end, the holy grail of the growth funnel is basically the referral when they love your product so much that they recommend it to someone else. So as you can see, this kind of the funnel shape. So customers, not every customer is going to go through the whole funnel. So it becomes less and less customers. And the goal of like growth funnel optimization or a growth team, a growth marketing, whatever you want to call it, is like to increase people in each stage or increase the people that go to the next stage down the funnel. If you can go to the next slide, we actually see how we at Mercari use it. So we actually make it a little bit shorter, so we don't have the revenue funnel as something we look at so actively. So we make it more part of the retention. So for us, if a user retains and keeps using our product by buying something or selling something, that's for us a revenue generation, right? So we have revenue more kind of part of retention. And then referral for us becomes more virality. That means we don't only look at how a customer recommends, like invites another friend or another person through an invitation code or something. We actually also look at sharing what they bought on a social network, right? So, oh, I just bought these new shoes, and they shared on Facebook or maybe in their internal chat group or something like that. So we also look at virality, which then really nicely feeds into acquisition again or awareness again. So sometimes you call it not a funnel, you call it like a wheel or a circle as well. Yeah, the next slide. Yeah, thank you. Here, just to give you a little more concrete ideas on what actually we care about in each stage. So awareness is pretty obvious. This is about how many people do we reach that learn about Mercari and learn about what we represent, what our product can do, what we stand for. So you can think of this of like really mass marketing, TV commercials, a banner that's not targeted or not retargeting users on the web, like a big banner on top of the web page, for example. That's what we would call awareness campaigns. Acquisition, the next stage is where we look at how many people register, make an account on Mercari. This is where it might already be different from other industries or companies, because what I see a lot in ad-based companies, so that revenue comes majorly from ads, they look at acquisition as terms of just visits to the website, right? Because if someone visits your website and sees an ad, that already is some sort of acquisition. But for us, it's more the account creation, because that goes really nicely into the activation, where it becomes interesting because we have different types of activation. So since we have this two-sided marketplace where we have people buying and people selling stuff, we want to activate either one of these actually. So we have activation for new people buying something or people listing something. And then you can see a third one is actually paying. This is because we have MeduPay, which is like a different company, but in the same ecosystem, we have the option for users to pay inside the app in other online shops or offline actually at supermarkets with our app. So we also have this pay activation. But me personally, I work mostly or exclusively on buying and listing activation. The next stage we have retention, which is actually just the repeated activation, right? So you have a user, you want the user once they understand, oh, I can buy really nice used products on Mercari. You want them to that value to click, so he does that again, right? Because he really understands what Mercari stands for and the value you can get out of it. Same with listing. So once they sell something successfully, they can see, hey, maybe I can sell something else as well. So this is like where you try to keep the user engaged with our product. And the last one I kind of mentioned earlier, this is more about how much we share, the user shares our product. Yeah, on the next slide, we have, I just highlighted what I am personally working on the most. So you can go to the next slide. Just the three mid-funnel stages are what I work a lot on, especially retention, some activation, a little bit acquisition. So that's what I can talk about the most actually. And on the last slide, I added a couple of metrics or KPIs because I think putting some numbers on it is more interesting. So these are metrics, some of the metrics that we look at. So for active acquisition, we look at number of registrations, so new accounts. It sounds really straightforward, but actually it has different dimension because we look at also other different channels where the users come from, right? You have maybe some paid ads, so someone sees the paid ad and then becomes a user, or they search something on Google and then find Mercari and then become a user. We would call that organic user acquisition, or a direct user acquisition is someone that knows about Mercari, goes directly there and becomes a user. And then you also have invites, friend invites, or offline campaigns. We even have these type of acquisitions. So there's a lot of different types of registrations. And then for activation, it's we have it split between buying and listing, like I said earlier. For both, we look a lot at 7-day activation because we've seen that users don't tend to activate anymore, or the chance becomes very low that a user buys or lists something for the first time if more than 7 days pass since their account registration, right? So there's still a chance, but the chance becomes very low. So we try to focus on the first 7 days, if possible, even less. But yeah, we have also 0 day, 1 day, 3 days, or 30-day kind of activation. But 7 days is a very important one. And retention, this is where, we have a larger metric just for retention rate. We can look at this month over month or specific periods over periods. We sometimes also look at this for retention rate from users that registered in January last year or something. How many are still active right now? These kind of retention metrics is something we also look at a lot. So I hope this gave like a good overview, a very basic overview. If you have more questions or if you have anything you want to talk me to talk about specifically, please feel free to ask in the comments.
Thank you, Leonard. Yes, before jumping into the Q&A session, yes, more questions have been came from the students. So I will highlight again some questions about the product manager things at the end, the last Q&A part. And also, yes, please let me ask pick up some questions related to this topic. So how's the conversion in activation from acquired new customers? I think it's quite, yes, we already visited it once. Leonard, could you answer this by highlighting something from your stories?
How is the conversion?
How's the conversion in activation from acquired new customers? Is quite, yes.
Oh, okay. So
Yes, typical question, I think. Yes,
Yes.
for Mercari. Yeah.
How is the conversion activation from acquired new customers? Yeah, I can't talk about the specific numbers. So what we usually, so how there's the conversion. So what we often do is, from a marketing perspective, for example, is we try to use incentives if we see that the customer is not needs an additional motivator kind of, right? So we assume that our product has a good enough product market fit that they will convert organically, right? That they see the value of Mercari and find a product they like or find a product they want to list. But then if we see that they, for example, haven't done that after 7 days or a certain period of time, and we see a downward trends in the activity, we try to give them, for example, incentives. So we have a marketing budget where we give them certain coupons or point back programs if they make their first purchase or make their first sell or something like that. That's some of the activation that from the marketing side that we use on newly acquired customers.
Thank you. I think your answer is also answered to some other questions. I also want to pick another is about what is the Mercari North Star metrics. Okay, yes, I think it's very important question, but let me answer this. So Mercari is the platform that anyone can sell and buy. So if you tell me pick only one North Star metrics from Mercari, I would rather pick a number of transaction. So that's the reason why we are existing and why we want to create all the values for our customers at this moment. Okay, so yes, time is pushing. Sorry, maybe I talked too much. Thank you, Leonard. I will see you at the last part. And the next topic is for Joy.
Hello, thanks, Eugene.
By the way, let me apologize. I didn't pick every question. Okay. Yes, Joy, please.
No worries. I'll try to go a bit faster as well. I think we're running quite out of time.
Yes.
But for my section, I'm going to talk a bit more about experiments, kind of what they are, why we do it, and how we do it. And then I'll kind of finish off with challenges that we product managers face doing experiments. So firstly, to kind of set a bit of context, and I think I'm trying to make this relevant for, I think, mainly product people that are in the audience. Experiments are part of the product development process. It's one of the tools in the product development toolkit. Experiments are not the goal. It's just something that we product managers can use to help us make better decisions. And where that fits in on the screen, you can kind of see this vague product development process, which is intentionally vague because I think every team and organization probably has their own way of doing things, but I'm willing to bet it will look something similar to this. You have your discovery phase where you talk to users, find out what the problem is, design phase where you actually design a solution, and then you actually build the thing. Experimentation comes after this, after you've already built the solution, and then before you've decided to release it to your customers. So what experimentation essentially is, at its very core, is hypothesis testing. And through the lens of experimentation, everything before that is hypothesis forming, where you're actually forming your hypothesis about what is going to be useful for your customers. And then in your experiment, you prove whether or not it is useful to your customers. And then, of course, depending on how you conduct experiments, if it goes well, you release it. But even if it doesn't, you should learn something from every experience that can then help you go back into your discovery phase and come up with better hypotheses in your next cycle of experimentation. Next. So next slide is why we do it. And again, at its very core, essentially, it helps us understand our customers better. I won't go too much into this, but Ron Kohavi, which is this kind of one of the leaders in experimentation, has this really interesting hierarchy of evidence. And essentially, experiments are right at the top, and it's the only reliable way to know whether or not you're making an impact for your customers. Next slide, please. And to kind of drive the point home a little bit more, it's really, really easy to draw false conclusions without conducting experiments. So I'm not going to cover this too much in detail, but there's this guy, Tyler Vigan. He has this website and book called Spurious Correlations, where he collects real-life correlations in the world and shows you how ridiculous some of them can be. So this is an actual real example showing divorce rate versus margarine. And this has a correlation of 99%, suggesting that the more margarine you consume, the more likely you are to get divorced, which is hopefully not true. But yeah, so it's really difficult to know what actually is causative instead of just correlated. And I think a lot of people in experimentation will probably say that around 10 to 20% of experiments actually succeed. So the majority of what we try doesn't lead to an impact, which shows you really should be experimenting to know what's really helpful. Next, I'm going to talk about actually how we do it. And I probably won't go through all of the steps, but I do want to bring it to life a little bit with an example of a recent experiment that we did conduct here at Mercari. At the top, you can see sort of the 5 broad stages that an experiment goes through. Firstly, you define the metric, then you design the experiment, then you conduct the experiment, then you analyze the results, and then you kind of make your decision whether or not you want to release it to your users. I'm going to focus on what I think is most important for product managers, and that's the beginning, defining the metric, and then at the end, whether or not you decide to release it. In the middle, I think most product managers would be working with a product analyst or data scientist, some sort of analytics team. Or hopefully, maybe it's just Mercari that has a really good analytics team that we were able to work with. But I think there's a lot of content already online, and it's easy to find out. Well, not easy to find out, but the content is there if you want to learn about how to do it the right way. Okay, so on to the actual example. As mentioned before, I work on the supply side of Mercari. And one of the steps that you have to do as a seller after you've made the transaction is you need to ship your packages to the buyer. And as part of the listing flow, you have to choose what package, the method that you want to send it with. On the left, which is to control how we have it in the app right now, the lister selects, you can't really see it there, but it's a long scroll and there are many different kind of shipping methods that the lister can choose from. And then on the right, the hypothesis is that we can use AI to help users choose which shipping method is applicable for them, with the kind of assumption that many users don't know what is the correct shipping method for them, which does add on unnecessary costs and also can sometimes lead to problems on the buyer side as well. So on the right, again, sorry, it's just a screenshot, so you can't see it that clearly, but the sort of white box is a pop-up, an extra suggestion model, which is triggered using AI when you hit certain conditions, and then it narrows it down to just 2 options that you can choose from, whether or not, instead of the long form on the left. So in terms of the first step, defining the metric, I want to point out, I think for product managers, this is probably the most important step. because if you get this, sorry, Adrian, I want to stay on defining the.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I actually click this.
Yeah. I think this is for product managers, this is the most important step, because if you get this right, everything else, even if you make a mistake, you can correct it, you can redo your experiment, you can get help in understanding how to conduct it properly, how to make sure your analysis is correct, etc. But if you get this wrong, everything else is kind of defeats the purpose. And in particular, just like how experimentations are a tool, not the goal, the metric itself isn't the goal. The metric itself is a kind of a proxy of showing you whether or not what you're doing is helping you achieve your goals. And your actual goal should be driven by what your strategy is. So in this example, we could easily debate about what is the correct metric. For example, some people might say click-through rate on the suggestion model is a good metric. It could be if you want to measure uptake of your new features or of AI features. You can measure listing completion time if your strategy is to reduce listing completion time, for example. And maybe this is extending a bit on Leonard's earlier section. We kind of think these things through acquisition funnels. So this is kind of like retention or activation, somewhere in between. But what is really important for us is to make sure that users actually complete the listing. So for us, we went with listing completion rate. And that may change depending on what your strategy is, quarter to quarter or year to year as well. So I'm going to skip all the way to deciding to release due to time. And actually, at this stage, I want to try and see whether we can get enough comments. But what do people think was the results of this experiment? Was it shown to be useful or not useful? And I'll maybe pause for 10, 20 seconds if anyone wants to say in the comments.
Okay.
Sorry, hang on. I was going to try and poll about.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry. I'll finish the results. So in the end, what we actually found was that there was no uplift from this experiment. So the treatment actually had no significant difference from the control in terms of listing completion rate. And I think certainly the product team had a strong assumption that this would be useful, but showed that it wasn't. And then as a product manager, your next thing is to kind of decide whether or not to release it or not. And again, this is not straightforward. I think just because there's no uplift doesn't necessarily mean you don't release it, and vice versa. Just because there is an uplift doesn't mean you do release it. There are other things to take into consideration, like practical significance, whether or not the feature you're developing, even though it's uplift, is it more than the cost of delivering and maintaining it, for example? And in other cases like this, which is dependent on AI, you might also think that by releasing it, although it's not uplift, at least there's no degradation. And this can help you kind of collect feedback about what's the correct suggestion to give. And then as the model collects more data, the accuracy improves. And then maybe with a higher accuracy model, this actually becomes more useful later down the line. So a lot of things to consider, and it's not always straightforward when you conduct experiments. All right, thank you, Hyunjin. So I'll try and finish up really quickly now. So I want to focus the talk on kind of what it means for product managers and not from a data science or analytics perspective. And these are some of the challenges that certainly I face as product managers. I don't really have the solutions to them either, but I just want to start a conversation around that. So I'm going to just pick one to talk about. And I think maybe something that is helpful is using a one-size-fits-all approach I think once you get into the habit of conducting experiments, there is a tendency to want to standardize experiments, which is really good. This definitely helps you increase the kind of velocity of experiments that you're conducting. But then it's also critical to recognize that not all features are the same. Some smaller optimizations, for example, will require less kind of significance for you to want to release it, versus kind of bigger changes where you want to take things like the novelty effect into account, etc., and then you want to have a longer duration, which again is just to build on the point that there are a lot of things to take into account for experimentation, and there's no kind of right answer into how you conduct it. Right. Thank you. I'm going to end there. But if anybody wants to dive deeper into any of these points or have further questions, yeah, happy to talk about it as well.
Okay. Yes, I think we had a lot of some questions. So Joy, do you have anything you want to pick from these questions?
Yeah, let me just read through the comments a little bit. So I've maybe this is a recency bias, but I'm reading the last comment that just came from DC. I'm sure you have thousands of experiments. How do you share the results and help all the teams understand historical insights? That's a really, really good question. And the reason for this is, I think, being data-driven, trusting experimentation instead of intuition is a very cultural thing. And I think I'm sure Hyunjin and the other panelists would agree and maybe have things to talk about this as well. But for us, one thing that we do is we share all results. Everything is very transparent. So when you complete an experiment, everyone's encouraged to just post it in our public channels, public forums. And that includes not just the results, but also the experiment design itself, alongside the analysis, right down to even the SQL query. If you want to look at it, everyone can look at it. And that helps us kind of sense check each other's work and also use it to build other hypotheses, even for teams that are not on your own.
I think this communication is very, characteristic. What I felt in Mercari. So I also coming from this data-driven teams, search. So for example, search team have a team's own session every week. We share every insight or some data analysis results, and also shares experience result, and also we can discuss what is going on, what have been done. This kind of the very first layer is for each coming from each teams, and there's also cross team session like a per camp or cross camp, or eventually there's the company all hands that you can share any your big shots or something like this learnings. Yes, there's plenty of opportunity to share our insights in Mercari, I think. Yes, thank you. Yes, I think we are a bit behind of our timetable, I think. So, okay, thank you, Joy. I think it's very, yes. I also, we have the next session is about the general Q&A topic. I think we can pick up what we didn't answered in this session. And also, yes, please come join us. So the all the panels, please come into the stream on this year. Okay, thank you, Sven. Thank you, Leonard. So yes, let's go to the general Q&A session. Q&A session here. So maybe I can highlight some more product manager questions. Okay, so yes, let me pick one. Yeah, there is a functionality to highlight the question, but I cannot use it at this moment. So I will read it. Would some with business analysis or technical product owner with a project delivery background be a reasonable fit for product manager? Okay, thank you. Yes, there's a question. Panels, anyone want to answer this question?
I can add my thought on this.
Okay, great.
From first thing, yeah, definitely. So me personally, I'm also have a business analyst background. So I started as a kind of like business BI consultant at Tableau, which is also a analytics company. And I came from that background where I really learned that there's so much power in data to make decisions and very informed decisions. And those are the people that we are looking for. So we want people that take both qualitative and quantitative information to make their decisions, or to say why they made that decision. And then like Joy basically explained, the whole testing is like, we want that to be a like an identity, or like our a core identity. So I think that's definitely a reasonable fit for being a product manager at Mercari.
Thank you. And the next question is, any stories where you had any unexpected external issues? Yes, I think I can answer this. So I'm not sure what is the biggest one, but the marketplace abusing is actually is occurring every day and everywhere. So for search team, there's a lot of for example, keyword stuffed list is still existing in Mercari. So for example, in search team, we are analyze all our item and its description, and we had the product components to evaluate how much soft keywords are included in the search items or something. So yes, these items will get penalties from the search logic or something like this. The data-driven improvements, I think I can say, is what we are the most of our product managers are doing every day. Okay, yeah, I think yes. Hope this answers to you. And any other question that I can pick? Panels, do you have any specific questions you wanted to answer?
I can add some more examples about for previous question about like
okay, yeah, that'd be great.
external related. Yeah, actually in Mercari, another foundation area, we have a team working on this kind of TNS area. For example, like as Hyunjin mentioned, there was some like item based, this kind of like how do you say, like we are kind of monitoring the items related properties, and same time for payment related thing, we also have like a lot of logics to prevent the fraud. Yeah, so this both we have such kind of area in like as a products.
Yeah, when you say TNS means trust and safety, right? So
yes, trust and safety.
yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
There's a very interesting question. Where the hypothesis come from?
Yes, I think I missed it. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to pick that one up as well. So in again, kind of at its core, all hypotheses come from the customers, but how it reaches the product team kind of has different ways of doing it. It can come from someone from the product team, is kind of the kind of, I guess, most direct. It can come from engineers, but I sort of alluded to this earlier, but we have a really good kind of BI team that do a lot of UX research. We do voice of customer surveys. We do through our customer support team as well. We do collect a lot of feedback about what's working, what's not working. and that's kind of where the ideas come from, and then gets like filtered or kind of chopped up, I don't know, sort of sharpened into what is the actual solution we can use to try and solve the problem. And that's very much on the client team. So I don't know if there are other.
Yeah, I also, for my cases, I think we learn a lot of things from our online A/B testing. So, for example, we have multiple, for example, machine learning models, for example. The model is actually some kind of add on our hypothesis, our maybe previous hypothesis. So when you test this model and online, of course we do it first, of course offline, but online, if the model will not work, may not work as we intended. So in that case, we denies the hypothesis. The statistically speaking is I'm not just. This hypothesis is not saying what you're using for the online A/B testing precisely, but we have to develop a better from PM's mental model or the ML's mathematical models. These all kind of things are coming from multiple roles of our experts, including PdMs. So yes, so hypothesis is also coming from A/B testing, but that's what I want to say.
And I want to point out, actually, that also means it's coming from the customers. It's just that, that it's being like translated to the A/B test results.
Yeah.
I also want to highlight or shout out to our UX team. So we have a research team that actually goes out and does direct interviews with customers, which helps a lot to kind of uncover certain problems that might be sometimes obvious, but also not that obvious. And they really feed really well into the hypothesis making, right? So if we uncover some problems from something we see a lot in interviews, we can go ahead and then come up with solutions, and which are basically hypotheses, right? Like we believe if we introduce this feature, it's going to solve this problem. So yeah, the interviews are also a very, very good source for coming up with hypotheses.
Okay. Yes, I think we have a couple more of our time. So let me pick the next question. Yes, can you guide us about the PdM hiring process at Mercari? I think at the last part, there is we will share the link to this hiring process, our hiring pages. So I think you can, refer the page. And the next question. Can you shed some light on the strength of your light on the strength you value in your teammates associate? Yes, thank you. Yes. Can anybody answer to this question?
Yeah, I can go first. I think first, the most important thing, maybe I like respect is like the passionate for the product development or product management, especially very strong accountability. This is one one part. Another is especially in my area, need a lot of strategy, has a be able to logically, strategically to create certain a roadmap for the product development is very important for my area. Yeah. How about your? Yeah, yours.
Maybe one thing. I don't know whether you guys will agree, actually, but I think we do have a good culture of debate. As in, when we make important decisions, we do talk about it passionately, but always kind of fairly and like very logical about it. And also, guess some people probably know that Mercari has gone kind of fully remote. So a lot of people do this asynchronously as well through written documents. And I personally quite like that as well. It's kind of very clear thinking about how we make decisions to achieve our long-term goals. That's really good. And also, I think that we trust our teammates, so that is sort of, it's like a safe space where you can debate in faith instead of getting kind of agitated
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes, that's great. So I think, yeah, one more pick. So, okay. How's the work-life balance for a product manager in Mercari? We can all, answer to this. So, from who?
I think someone mentioned already we have full remote. So it's not really specific to product managers, actually. So this applies, I guess, to anyone working in Mercari. What I really enjoy is the choice to be fully remote or go to the office. So we have that policy that, you can choose to work anywhere in Japan or at the office, anywhere basically. And then it's also a full flex. So that I can choose my own starting and ending time. I'm pretty traditional. I just work in the normal 9 to 6 basically hours, but I see people that wake up late, that wake up early, anything. So I enjoy that a lot. And what Joa mentioned is that basically because we have all these good tools like Slack and documentation on Confluence or Jira and Google Docs, etc. It makes this asynchronous working style possible.
Yes, that's what I wanted.
Exactly.
to talk about. Yeah, exactly. Yes, we also all agree about this. I also.
Yeah, I think it's really very flexible here. Like sometimes actually, it depends on period. Sometimes I'm very busy, like for example now doing the planning. But in general, like I have the flexibilities to balance like career and the family. For example, like every Thursday, actually, I have to like leave around like between 4 and 5 p.m. I need to send my daughter for English after school class. I just like book my calendar and everybody respect my calendar basically. So you have like kind of like this kind of flexibility to balance like a life and work here.
Okay. I think yes, that answered your question. I think yes, great, thank you. Okay. Could you change the layout to go back to slide? Okay, thank you. Yes, I think we have to close the Q&A session. Okay, so yes, that's it. So everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. It's really exciting experience even for me, and I believe everybody else also have the same experience today. Okay, thank you. But one thing I want to share, we are hiring. So yes, I saw the question about this. So you can scan this QR code. Okay, thank you, and for the share the link to the site. And yes, there is a open Minty, so you can look into these sessions too. Yes, we are hiring the product. You can look into the how the product managers is working on through this. And the last part is about, it will be very, very appreciated if you could give us any feedback to create a better session like this more. So there's also, I think, upcoming events in the near future about this product management. So please don't hesitate to jump in the next session too. Okay, I think it's time. Thank you everyone to join us today, and thank you to the panel too. Have a great night today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Yunji.
Bye bye.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye.